Day 28. So we are in the Bhishma Panchaka. I didn't mention it yesterday because I forgot. But I think many of you understood that it was the beginning yesterday on the Ekadashi of the Bhishma Panchaka. Principally, there are various rules from Hari Bhakti Vilas that are there, but basically with my Gurudev, it was an understanding of to increase our intensity of our focus, because very often after 26 days of traveling around in the fields and dust of Braj, it's quite energetic, and sometimes we get a little tired and perhaps full of cold and dust in the chest, etc. Towards the end, this was definitely what would happen on our larger parikrama. And people would have a tendency to want to sort of retire more. But the idea of this Bhishma Panchaka is not retire, but do the opposite. It's like running a race rather than just slowing down at the end. And because the end is in sight now, then just slowing down and taking, but the opposite, actually speeding up and racing to the end. So it's an opportunity for those enthusiastic sadhaks who want to intensify their bhajan and their efforts to please Radha and Krishna. And we can do this in so many different ways. Each individual has their own understanding, either increasing your rounds, getting up earlier, eating less, being more focused, reading, being more generous hearted, whatever is the necessity that we feel will improve our connection with Radha and Krishna. So we have these 5 days, Bhishma Panchaka, and many devotees take different vows, etc. And if we look in Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are many rules and regulations that one can take on board, but these aren't necessarily mandatory. It's not like Ekadashi, no grains. Like you can read there, oh, well, perhaps you should just follow Ekadashi for the next 5 days, or different rituals. If you're very much dedicated and the rituals have some deep significance to you, then embrace them. But if they are only rituals, then what is the value of if it's doing something without fully understanding what you're doing? If there's no intention, Narada Muni in the Narada Pancharatna, it said that if one is fully devoted to Krishna, what is the purpose of austerities? And if one is not fully devoted to Krishna, what is the purpose of austerities? You understand? There's a mood here. We're not fanatics, we're not smarters. This is not our path. We're conscious thinking sadhaks with a specific goal to try and bring the very life breath of our existence to the service of Sri Radhika, following the precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, coming through Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, through our Guru Vargya. This is what we are doing. So the Bhishma Panchaka can certainly enhance in so many ways, just to be aware that this window is open for an intense finish to our parikrama. So this Bhishma Panchaka began yesterday. So that was Ekadashi, and then Dwadasi, and then Trayodasi, Chaturdasi, and Panchami. So the Panchami is the Purnima. So this Purnima is when that Bhishma Panchaka concludes. So I didn't mention any of that yesterday because I forgot it. But I'm just mentioning it straight away today so I don't forget. But I don't think devotees should go off on a tangent and become fanatical about some brat, etc. Just be balanced. in what we are aiming for, what is our focus, what is our intention. Don't do anything without clear vision of the intention to what is it that we want. Understand? We want this Palyadasi goal, ultimately. This is our principle. So that's very broad in a sense. At the same time, it's quite narrow. So there's much absorption in Rupa Goswami's teachings, particularly, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Narottam Das and Krishnadas Kaviraj, these personalities, to understand what that is. This is what all our Shastric direction is pointing towards. Mahaprabhu has come to taste his own prem. Prem ras niryase korite ashwada. And he's come to give rag mag. So we as followers of Mahaprabhu, how to enter that rag mag passageway. That's our intention. And certainly getting so much sukriti and support and indication, direction from these parikramas will really speed us on our journey, no doubt. So, especially hearing the Leelas, because ultimately the Leelas are considered the highest aspect of the philosophy. We have the Tattva, that's described like the horse. And then we have the Leela, who is the rider on the horse. So the rider is more important than the horse. The horse is the Tattva, and the rider is the Leela. So we want to hear these Leelas, become absorbed in these Leelas, because it carries us to the heart region. The Tattva will actually carry us into the mind region, or carry us from the mind to the heart, this Sangvit Shakti. Then from that Sangvit Shakti coming into the heart, it mixes with the Hladini Shakti. And then the result can be Bhav Bhakti from that. So I just wanted to express that initially today. So now we'll have our kirtan, and then we're going on a very short kirtan, short parikrama today, just walking very simply out of the mud and going towards Kusum Sarovar, which is only about 3 miles north of Giridhari Gaudiya Math. We're all staying in the Giridhari Gaudiya Math. We're very lucky. We can stay in our virtual parikrama in the Giridhari Gaudiya Math. Srila Bhaktivedanta Madhav Maharaj is a good friend of mine, and I'm sure he will allow us to all stay there without any difficulty at all. So I have no problem. I'm an apolitical person. I'm not with any party. I'm with my Gurudev's party. And I'm with the party that actually wants to come to the lotus feet of Sri Radhika. That is my party. So if anyone is in that party, I embrace them.
The Paksha party.
But if they're in their separate parties, distinct from that, then I'm not in the same group there. So anyway, but Madhav Maharaj is very dear to me. And I actually communicated with him the other day, and he was very happy that we're coming. And I said, we will be accommodating ourselves in your mat. So he was very welcome for that. So we are in the Giridhari Gaudiya Math. Okay, so we'll have our kirtan.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Srimati Bhakti Vedanta
Narayaniti Namine
Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Swami
Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaschakadeshatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Gaura-Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Prajnana Keshavariti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna-Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Swati Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur-Bhaktavriya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur-Bhaktavriya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Gurudeva Jaya, Gurudeva. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Munindra Vrindavandite Trilokashokahari Prashana Ratra Pankaj Nikunjatu Vilasini Rajendra Manunandini Rajendra Suna Sanandate Jadakarishya Siyama Sripada Darshana Rajanam Ashoka Vrikshari Vitana Mandala Sitesvaramaya Paravaya Suratkare Prabhu Sampadaye Esvareva Sanchita Virupachamanashanam Sucharuvakramandalam Sukarnaratna-kundalam Suchakritanga-chandanam Namami Nandanam Sudhirganetrapankajam Shikeshikandamurgajam Anandagati-mohanam Namami Nandanam Sudhasikaramoknikam Swachandadanta-pantikam Navambulam-vachitanam Namami Nandanam Karena venu ranjitam Katikarindrajanjitam Dukula-vita-shovanam Namami Nandanam Ivanga-deva-sundaram Sakati-sudakaram Ahulyaram-bhushanam Namami Nandanam Ganga Anga Swarupam Murogirajikostupam Surashri Vatsalanchayam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavanasunaganam Vilasanugavasasam Surendra-garunoshanam Namami Nandanandanam Sunayakam Sarasukabhagayakam Jagannatam Pralobanam Namami Nandanandanam Nandanandanastakam Adedya Shradhayam Vitam Tarenvaram Vinduskaram Adetaram Viyukatam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Harido, 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 Harido,
Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giri Hari. Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai. Nityananda Rai Ki Jai. Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimat. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimat. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimat. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astautar Sarashishimat. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Satam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudi Varantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarab Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Syama-kuti Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai. Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Nam Bhajan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai. Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Antadweep, Mayapur, Simantadweep, Golden Madhyadweep, Koladweep, Richardweep, Danadweep, Modandweep, Rudradweep, Atmakanavadweep, Dham Ki Jai. Bandiravan, Badravan, Belvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadiavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala Ki Jai. Urja Brat Ki Jai. Damada Brat Ki Jai. Niyama Seva Ki Jai. Chatumasya Brat Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Om Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Taravaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatosmi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Varatano Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatamba Sadipita Sadahradare Kandare Sparatu Vasachinandanaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurasmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad, Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada, and all our most illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhavevacha patitanam papnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namaha. So today we have a physically small parikrama. We'll probably be walking about altogether 4 miles or maybe 5 miles, including up and down. So basically, we're going to be going in the direction from our Giridhari Gaudiya Math straight along the road towards Kusum Sarovar. So first of all, we'll just cross straight over the road from our Giridhari Gaudiya Math, and we'll come to one kund, Killola-kunda, Killola-kunda, which is not prominent on the, none of these places we're going to do today, except Narada-kunda, are especially prominent for the yatris to actually visit. They're much smaller, more secluded places, and we're doing them today to get a more intensely personal connection with Giriraj or Girirani. So we come to Killola-kunda first, and this is a place where the cowherd boys in their Balya Leela and their Poganda Leela would sport here. Cowherd boys with Krishna were very, very energetic, like young boys are. There would be Sridham, Subal, Stoka Krishna, Arjun, Madhu Mangal, all these different personalities. And they would vigorously chase the shadows of the birds. They would pull the tails of the monkeys. They would play leapfrog. They would play, frolic in the water, Jal Krida. So it's described actually that Subal, he never lets go of the hand of Krishna, even in his dreams. He's always holding Krishna's hand, Subal, very dear, Priyanam Saka of Krishna. And Sridham, he prays to the moon each night, quickly finish your orbit so I can be with Krishna again in the morning. So the nature of Sakya Ras is very sweet and very, very beautiful. And Krishna, he's a repository, he's like a mine of new innovative games. You see children, groups of children, and they're just playing game after game after game after game, just like a fountain just pouring out. But what about the Supreme Lord? His conceptions of games are remarkable, and all the boys are really aware of that he's so innovative and creative in making different arrangements for their sports and so on. So I was thinking about this today, and it reminds us of Nityananda Prabhu in Ekachakra. He would also perform the same vigorous pastimes with all the young boys there, but they would be doing dramas of Lord Ram and different Krishna pastimes, enacting those pastimes, but the same mood of playfulness was there. But Krishna's pastimes here in Killola-kunda are principally this. Krishna would come here later on with the Sakis and with Radha and Krishna, with Radharani, and they would have their rendezvous here in this area. So remember that for the last year of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, he was performing Rasa Leela every single night in Vrindavan before he left, the last year before he goes to Mathura. So he's fulfilling the innermost desires of the Sakis. So he would come here at different times and sport with the Sakis also. So this is Killola-kunda. There's no specific pastime that's recorded here that I know of, but I'm sure there must be, but I don't know them. But from this Killola-kunda, then we're going to begin our parikrama today. And before we get to the next place, which is Gvala-Pokhara, we'll stop for a breakfast prasadam on the way, because we've left reasonably early at about 7:30. We've taken darshan here of Killola-kunda, and now we're walking up towards Gvala-kunda. It's walking in the direction of Kusum Sarovar. And there's one gentleman who lives there on the trail, on the path, and he always hosts the devotees when we come on this particular day, and serves us samosas and khichdi and different types of prasadam. And this is my Gurudev's disciple, and he's very excited to be able to serve the Vaishnava party in this way. He's very happy to do like that. So we reciprocate with him and honor his prasadam, and then we keep going. And the first place we come to now is Gvala-Pokhara. And again, this is a pastime where the sakas would play and sport with Krishna. It's described when Krishna sometimes he completes his Surya Puja. When I say Krishna's Surya Puja, perhaps you will know the pastime. When Krishna dresses up as a Brahmin boy with his assistant Madhumangal, and they impress Jyotila, who's there at Surya-kunda, with the expertise of their mantras, etc. And of course, Radha and the Sakis, they're all there to perform their regular puja to Surya Dev. Radharani, she will perform this Surya Puja worship daily. This is the nature of the Banus, Rishabhanu, Maharaj, and all of his family members. They worship Surya Dev very carefully each day. So each day, Radhika, she is encouraged by even Jyotila. And sometimes Jyotila will come with Radhika to this place of Gvala-Pokhara. No, sorry, she'll come to Surya-kunda. And when Krishna is, he knows that Jyotila is there, but he is so desirous to see Radhika that he disguises himself as a young Brahmin priest, and Madhumangal is his assistant. And when the gopis, who are very expert in all mantras, they hear the funny mantras that this priest is chanting, and they start to fall in a shower of laughter inside, giggling, because they know now it's Krishna. But Jyotila, she doesn't know all the mantras, so she's just bewildered by the flow of Sanskrit. And then Krishna, he performs the puja on behalf of Radhika, and Jyotila is so impressed that she wants to give him some ladus and a gold ring after he's done the puja. But Krishna, as the priest, says, no, I'm renounced. I don't accept anything at all. But Madhumangal there, his assistant, says, oh, well, my priest, he's actually got a bad stomach today, but I'll accept the ladus, and I'll take the ladus on behalf of him, and I'll take the gold ring as well. So he takes both, the ladus and the gold ring. So we hear many times this particular pastime at Surya-kunda. Surya-kunda, we didn't actually go to together as a parikrama, but we can touch on. This place is just north of Radha-kunda, and it's exceptionally beautiful and a very lonely type of place. It's right out. It's hard to get there with a lot of buses and things like that. It's a long journey, but once we're there, it's a very extraordinary pastime place, very incredibly peaceful place. And there's a beautiful deity of Surya Dev there in the temple. Some Gaudiyas, they've made a beautiful temple there where they can give accommodation to people if they want to go there at different times and stay there. So when this puja is complete and Madhumangal has his packet of ladus and gold ring, then the Brahmin priest Krishna, he bids them farewell, and he comes to this place, Gvala-Pokhara, where we are now. So Madhumangal, he's carrying his bundle of ladus very carefully and doesn't want to share them. But then when all the cowherd boys are sitting here, then Baladev, he sees, what's Madhumangal hiding in his bag? Why is he looking so suspicious? And then he asks Madhumangal, what have you got there? Madhumangal just tries to cover it. No, no, nothing, nothing, nothing. But then Baladev, he gives a signal to 3 or 4 other boys, and they come and grab Madhumangal. And immediately Baladev, he grabs the ladus, opens the bag, and then distributes them. And everyone is eating the ladus right in front of Madhumangal. And Madhumangal, he doesn't like this at all. And he actually becomes very frustrated. He starts to cry, starts to weep even, in frustration. And he takes his Brahman thread out because he's one of the only ones who has a Brahman thread. He's the Brahman boy. And he takes his Brahman thread out and he's going to curse them all. And then Krishna immediately comes in and pacifies him very nicely, strokes his face, says, no, it's all right. I'll get them all back for you. But they've already been eaten by all the boys. But he pacifies Madhumangal, hugs him and pacifies him. And then Madhumangal, he starts to chuckle because he's Hasya Ras personified practically, Madhumangal. So he starts to chuckle now and he gets he lightens up, so to speak. And then the ring is returned to him. But these types of pastimes are going on with the suckers. Sometimes they'll steal each other's lunch bags here and stuff flowers instead of the samosa ingredient inside. Take the ingredients out, the vegetable, and put flowers in so the boy will eat it, and it's very bitter. And like this. So young boys, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, really relishing their company with each other and doing all kinds of they're very free when they're here, of course. This is why Krishna was so insistent to Mother Yashoda and Nandabama that he had to take the calves grazing and then later on the cows so that he could get away from the elders' vigilant eyes, and the boys could just cut loose and be free and run around and play in the forest, in the beautiful forest. So this is Gvala-kunda, and we come here, and this is, as you walk up towards Kusum Sarovar, this is on the left-hand side. We're going to be on the left for a while. And it's a very secretive type of place today, even, because you take a little road in, a dirt road, and it's surrounded by trees and bushes and so on, and creepers. And you would miss it if you didn't know it was there. You wouldn't find it. But if you're specifically looking for it, then of course you'll find it. So we go from Gvala-kunda, and then we come to Syama-kuti. Syama-kuti is very, very close to Gvala-kunda. It's maybe 100, 200 meters. And we come to Syama-kuti. And this is a place where Krishna would come, and there's a type of a musk um, mineral there. And Krishna would smear his body with this musk mineral and become even darker than he actually is. Then he'd put on dark clothes, sham color clothes, and he would walk in the forest and nobody could see him. It was like he made himself invisible. Not even the gopis could see him. So Krishna would play sports like this in this place, and we see the mineral where Krishna covered himself with in his body. So Shyam, it's called Syama-kuti. So this color Shyam, this dark hue color. So this is the how we remember this. These are all very brief descriptions, and unless you want to open it right out, then these are just the basic leelas of these places. But I'm anxious to get to Narada-kunda because I want to describe something there of significance that I think is interesting for us. So after Syama-kuti, then we go to Ratna-simhasana. And Ratna-simhasana is Ratna means jewel. So a jeweled Singhasan, a jeweled throne is there, where Radha and Krishna would sit during their pastimes in a very like royalty, in a beautiful asan, Singhasan, and all the gopis would worship Radha and Krishna. But one day after Shiva Chaturdasi, it was the holy festival after Shiv Chaturdasi, and Balaram was with Krishna, and the gopis, and some of the Sakis, the Priyanam Sakas were there, and they were performing holy with each other, and they had very long sprays, and they would spray the colors over each. This was a real like um, um, battle between the different camps of the gopis with their colors and their dyes. All the gopis, they would come equipped. They would have pouches with the powders on them, and they would be armed with these syringes, and they would even have small bows with the arrowheads of bunches of dye and flowers, and then they would have these balls that were with powder inside and throw them at each other. This was a very serious battle. If you read in Ananda Vrindavan Champu, it's all described how the two sides, they would, organize each other and try to defeat each other with the flower bombs and the powder bombs and the sprays, etc. And they would take it very, very seriously. Like you sometimes see children here, especially in India, whenever they play, you see them sometimes playing cricket. They take it so seriously. It's like life and death practically. So, like this holy festival that Krishna and Balaram would perform with the Sakis and Sakas, Balaram would take one party and Krishna would take the other party. They would have their cohorts, their army, and they would really strongly attack. But it was filled with laughter and mirth and festivity. And they would have all types of spring ragas would be sung at that point. But it was a complete joyous festival. In around the midday time, and this one particular day, this demon called Sankachuda, who was a servant of Kubera, he came there and he was not acknowledging Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, supreme Lord at all. And he thought, why is this young boy enjoying with these beautiful girls? I should be enjoying with them. This Sankachuda had a mystical jewel in his forehead that gave him a lot of power and potency. So he thought he was like God. So he picked up a huge log and began herding all the gopis away from Krishna and Balaram, just like animals started to herd them away with these logs. And he was a huge personality. And the gopis began screaming for help to Krishna and Balaram. So, of course, Yogamaya has arranged this beautiful pastime for the hero, Krishna, to jump in, and Balaram also to demonstrate their prowess in any situation. So immediately Krishna and Balaram, they run to this scene where Sankachuda is. And as soon as Sankachuda sees Krishna and Balaram running very fast towards him, he drops his lot and starts to run very fast. And then Krishna indicates to Balaram, you stay here and take care of the gopis. I'm going to catch him. And Balaram encourages him. And Krishna chases after Sankachuda. And he captures him. And he just punches his head and kills him immediately, just in one blow. And then he takes out this beautiful jewel that's in his forehead. And then he comes back to where the gopis are. And he's looking at all the gopis and he knows he's going to get into trouble if he hands the jewel to one of the gopis, because then all the other gopis are going to become envious. Why didn't he hand it to me? Like the Parijat flower in Dwarka. So he gives the jewel to Balaram and he says, my dear brother, you take this. But Balaram knows Krishna's heart. So Balaram gives it to Madhumangal. Madhumangal also knows Krishna's heart. So Madhumangal, he gives it to Lalita. And Lalita Saki, she gives it to Radhika. So that's where it was meant to go, to Radhika. So this is Sankachuda. So this Sankachuda demon, he comes in at this time, right at the very end of Krishna's pastimes, actually. Because after this, then Keshi and Vyomasura and Aristasura, these last three demons are killed. Then Krishna goes to Mathura. So this is right at the end of his Vrindavan pastimes. This pastime happens. So this is a very joyous place at Ratna-simhasana. And then we can sit and we can enjoy the beauty and sweetness and atmosphere of the kund here. It's a very intoxicating place if we're becoming immersed in the flavor and the atmosphere of Giriraj and the pastimes between Radha and Krishna and the Sakas and Sakis, then we can really be influenced in this particular place. It's very easy to remember. Radha and Krishna's pastimes in this very secluded place off the trail. So now we're going to go up to Narada-kunda, which is almost opposite and south east a little bit of Kusum Sarovar. So we've gone to Killola-kunda and Gvala-kunda, Gvala-Pokhara, and Ratna-simhasana and Syama-kuti. These 4 places we've already covered quite quickly because they're only small places and just brief pastimes there. But now we're coming to Narada-kunda, which is almost opposite Kusum Sarovar. It's about 200, 400 yards south of Kusum Sarovar. So we go in a long way inside. This is on the other side of the road now, away from Govardhan. So we come into a kunj area on the opposite side of the road from Govardhan. And there's a beautiful, very beautiful kund there. And this is Narada-kunda. So we hear the pastime that Narad, he had received the Gopal mantra from his father, Lord Brahma, and he wanted to have entrance into he wanted to become a gopi. He wanted to have that gopi bhav. He wanted to experience that gopi bhav fully. He had heard the remarkable pastimes of the gopis with Krishna, and he had developed so much love and affection and attraction towards the gopis. He wanted to become a gopi himself. So Vrinda Devi, she comes to this kund and instructs him that you should perform austerities here and you chant this Gopal mantra that your father, Lord Brahma, gave you. And after some time, Punamasi Devi will come and then she will arrange for your transition of your body. So Narad, he chants this Gopal mantra for a long time, it's described, in this very place where we are now. So when we hear these pastimes, we appreciate that the atmosphere is filled with this mantra, this Gopal mantra that Narada Muni, he chanted here in this area. So that Gopal mantra is like Shabda Brahman. So it's lingering in the atmosphere. It's still there. It's not like it's just a temporary pastime, but all these pastimes, they're eternal pastimes. So if we have developed our bhajan sufficiently, we can experience them to greater and greater degrees. So after some time, Narad, in his meditation, then then Punamasi arrives, and she's very pleased with his austerities, and she tells him to bathe in this kund there at Narada-kunda. And then when he emerges, he's got the beautiful form of Naradiya Gopi. So Narad, it's an interesting situation. Narad, he has 4 swarups that we know of. He has Narad Muni, then Naradiya Gopi, he has Srivas Thakur, and he has Madhu Mangal. These are all Narada Muni. So he takes this form of Naradiya Gopi, and it's described that, and when we come to this place today, we'll see there's a beautiful newish temple there. It's only maybe 10, 12 years old, and there's a beautiful deity now of Naradiya Gopi in the temple that we can worship. And it's described that Punamasi, she gives Narad his Ekadash Bhavs. This is described by my Gurudev, that she gives him those Ekadash Bhavs. So I'm going to take advantage of this point in the Parikrama to explain clearly what are these Ekadash Bhavs, because I think for our general education and absorption, it's very, very helpful. Right at the very end of Jaiva Dharma, Vijay Kumar, he receives these 11 Ekadash Bhavs. Ekadash means 11, so 11 Bhavs. They're all very specific to the form, the age, the dress, the sambandha, the residence, all the particular characteristics and qualities of the siddhadeya form, of our form internally. So our bhajan at some point, Guru, he will reveal these Ekadash bhavs to us. Without these Ekadash bhavs, you won't understand, you won't have the identity, you won't have the qualities of the gopi that you are realizing is your true identity. So I want to read a little bit from here just to enlighten us about the nature of these Ekadash bhavs, because I want to take advantage of this time, because we don't often get an opportunity to speak directly on this particular topic, just like in, where were we, Uddhav Kyari, we could speak on Brahmara Gita, which very seldom during the year we get an opportunity to speak on that. So here I want to speak on these, I want to read what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how he explains these Ekadash bhavs. So Vijay, he's asking, kindly explain these Ekadash bhavs to me thoroughly once again. He's already had them explained to him once, but he's forgotten them. So if you've heard these before, if you've read it before, we can always hear again and again and again and again. These are part of our eternal path that we need to be absorbed in and appreciate the nature of this. I think you will all benefit greatly to listen for. Just be patient and hear what this is. Okay. So Goswami is saying the Ekadash bhavs are sambandha. That means relationship. That means dasya, sakya, vatsalya, etc. What is the relationship? What is your sambandha with the divine couple? What is your mood? The first one is sambandha, relationship. And then vayas is age. This is what we have to become familiar with when we're tuning in, so to speak, or we're getting the mercy to understand what is my spiritual identity. These 11 qualities will arise by themselves by the mercy of Guru. They're not something that you can force or fabricate in any way. It's the nature of the soul itself has these naturally there. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavsa sadhanabhida nitya siddhyasya bhavasya, that this is residing within the heart of all the conditioned souls. But it's in prakatam hriti sadyata, it's in a potential form. So when by the mercy of Guru and by the endeavor of our sadhan bhakti, this question will arise. First of all, I have to ask for this. I have to want to know that. So today we're going to hear about it. So the second is vayas, is age. The third is nam, name. What is our eternal name? 4, rup, personal form and beauty. 5, yut, which group are we in? And 6, vesh, what is the color of my dress, etc. When we read Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Gita-vali, he describes all of these 11 bhavs in relationship to himself. What is the color of his dress? Where does he live? What is his age? What is his group, etc. He is describing his own Ekadash bhavs to us. Yut, vesh, dress, agyan, specific instruction. Vasa, residence. Seva, exclusive service. 10, parikashta, swasa, the highest summit of emotion, which is the aspirant's very life breath. And palyadasi bhav, the sentiment of a maidservant under the protection of Sri Radhika. So we discussed right on the very first day that my Gurudev wanted us to understand that our goal was Radha to become a Palyadasi of Sri Radhika. This was our goal. So by all of these different places that we've been to, some connection with the holy Dham must have manifested in the heart of the sadhak. And by our association with the other devotees, etc., then that will have become stronger for sure. So this is the final 11th Ekadash Bhavs, to have the desire, the sentiment of a maidservant under the protection of Sri Radhika. So now Vijay asks, what is Sambandha? So Sambandha, relationship. So Goswami is describing. The sentiment of Sambandha is the very foundation of this subject. Understand? The sentiments with which one relates to Krishna when one establishes Sambandha determine one's corresponding state of perfection, siddha. One who accepts Krishna as master when he establishes his relationship with him becomes das. One who accepts Krishna as his Saka or son when he establishes his relationship becomes Saka or parent, respectively. One who accepts him as husband in the marital Swakiya relationship becomes a beautiful young lady in Dwarka. I'm reading from chapter 39 in Jivadharma on page 802, if anyone wants to follow along or to read afterwards whenever. But 802 in Jivadharma. One who accepts him as husband in the marital Swakiya relationship becomes a beautiful young lady in Dwarka. Shantaras is absent in Braj. Remember these truths. And even Dasyaras is very inhibited. These very neutral, submissive bhavs are not present in Braj. Is just a dynamic experience of emotions. It doesn't have a space for Shantaras or Dasyaras particularly. It's there, but in a much lesser stage. In any case, this relationship is established according to the worshipper's ruchi. Your nature is feminine, and your inclination is in parakiya ras. So you are a subordinate attendant of Braja Vaneshwari. The sambandha that you have to cultivate and realize fully is, I am a maidservant of Srimati Radhika's most confidential attendant maid. Srimati Radhika is the mistress of my very life, and Krishna is her life. Therefore, Sri Radha Ballabh, Sri Krishna, is certainly the Lord of my life. But I'm subservient to Radhika, and because Krishna is the Lord of her life, then Krishna becomes the Lord of my life. But my first focus is Sri Radhika. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking very clearly here, directly quoting from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjwala Nilamani from Rupa Goswami. Vijay, I have heard that our Acharya Sri Jiva Goswami was in favor of Sambandha in Swakiya Bhav, the marital relationship. Is this true? So now we're digressing slightly, but it's good just to clear this point that sometimes people think because Jiva Goswami wrote about Swakiya, that therefore he was focusing on that end of Swakiya. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to clear this. Goswami, none of the followers of Sriman Mahaprabhu were outside the pure, transcendental Parakiya Bhav. This includes Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So don't try and throw him into Sakya Ras. Sri Swarup Goswami is the sole guru of this transcendental Parakiya Ras. He has given instruction on the purest transcendental Parakiya Bhav, and Srila Jiva Goswami, as well as Srila Rupa Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami, followed in his footsteps and maintained the same opinion. Srila Jiva Goswami has never cherished any independent sentiments of Swakiya Bhajan. However, he observed the scent of Swakiya Bhav in some of the Upasakas, worshippers of Braj. The Swakiya Bhav of Braj is found only where the Samartha Rati has a scent of Samanjasa Rati in it. So we remember these three types of Rati. Samartha Rati is the Rati which is will conquer Krishna. This is the Rati of the gopis, Samartha Rati. And then Samanjasa Rati doesn't come to that same sense of controlling Krishna. It doesn't control. Krishna doesn't even take his flute to Dwarka. He doesn't take his peacock feather to Dwarka. He simply has to smile and tell the gopis this, what to do, etc., and they'll just completely submissively follow, because they're all in Swakya Bhav, and he is the husband, not the paramour. And then Sadharani Rati is the third Rati that's described. That's Kubja. So these three types of Rati we should be familiar with. Srila Jiva Goswami had both types of disciples, those with Shuddha Parakiya Bhav and those whose worship was mixed with a sense of Swakiya Bhav. Consequently, he left separate instructions according to his disciples' different inclinations. This fact is clearly established by the sloka Swachaya Likitham Kinchit in his Lochan Rochini Tika on Ujjvala Nilamani. Vijay. Very well, I have understood that only the unadulterated Parakiya Bhajan is accepted in the Vishuddha pure Gaudiya conception. Now I have understood Sambandha. Please tell me about Vyas, age. Goswami, the Sambandha that you have established with Krishna has resulted in your unprecedented and unparalleled intrinsic Swarup, Braja Lalan Swarup, of a Braja Gopi. Now, to render service in that Swarup, you need to have a suitable age. This is why we have to have these Ekadash Bhavs. This is why Narad, when he's in Narada-kunda and Purnamasi is manifesting him as a gopi, he has to have these 11 qualities impressed within him. He has to know. Just like we remember when Shivji, he took the form of a gopi in Brahmakund from Purnamasi also, but he wasn't given his Ekadash Bhavs. So when the gopis captured him and demanded, who is your mother? Where do you live? Who is your husband? And he couldn't give any answers. They were slapping his cheeks so much because he didn't have these Ekadash Bhavs bestowed on him at the same time. But Narad, contrary to that, is having these Ekadash Bhavs given to him. The appropriate age, Kishore, the age from 10 to 16, also known as Vayasandhi. In your Swarup, you will begin from the age of 10 and grow up to 16 years. So it begins from 10 and goes to 16. Brajalalanas do not have the three ages of Balya infancy, ages 0 to 5. They don't have that pastime in those ages. Poganda, childhood, ages 5 to 10, and Vrita, adulthood. So you should always foster the spiritual identification of being a Kashuri. This is an eternal age. These Ekadash Bhavs are eternal impressions of our spiritual identity. So I think it's appropriate that we discuss this today on our parikrama to appreciate actually what is the sadhya, what is the goal of our bhajan, our practice, where are we going with this? We're trying to understand what is my eternal Siddha Swarup and what is my eternal relationship in my seva, etc., to Radha and Krishna. Goswami, after hearing about the services of various damsels of Braj, your own service tendency has awakened. According to that material tendency for service, you are a maidservant of Radhika Saki. The name of that maidservant is your name. Your Gurudev has given you your name. So this is Gopal Guru speaking to Vijay Kumar. He's already had his spiritual identity given to him in, I think it is chapter 21 or maybe 22 previously. Now we're in chapter 39. So he's already been expressed that he wants to make garlands for Lalita Saki. So he's already been given that identity as a Brajagopi, but he hasn't been given these 11 Ekadash Bhavs yet. So now he's receiving them from Gopal Guru. That name is to be considered your Nityanam. You will be delighted, Manorama, by this name among the Brajagopis. So he's giving him his name. Manorama is his name. Manorama Devidasi or Manorama Manjari. This is his name that Gopal Guru has just given to him right now in this paragraph. Vijay, Prabhu, now please tell me about Roop, eternal form. Goswami, your intrinsic transcendental identity is that of a beautiful, youthful Kishori, which means that your Sri Gurudev has defined your Shuddha Roop according to your inclination and ruchi. How can one be the maidservant of Srimati Radhika without having been endowed with an inconceivable divine form and personal beauty? We're getting the picture. We understand the nature of these Ekadash Bhavs. This is what I wanted to elaborate and to just take some digression to put this into our appreciation of this Narada-kunda, that Narada is being given these Ekadash Bhavs at this place. So I think it's important for us to understand something of what is the meaning of this. Vijay, please consolidate my faith regarding Ute group. Goswami, Srimati Radhika herself is the Uteshwari, leader of the Ute, and you have to live as an attendant in the group of one of her 8 principal Sakhis. Your Gurudev has put you under the guidance of Srimati Lalita, so now you should render loving service to Uteshwari, Srimati Radhika, and Leela Mai, Sri Krishna, under Sri Lalita's order. We see in the very first chapter of this Jaiva how when Babaji, Premdas Babaji, he's in his meditation and he's indicating to Sannyasi Thakur, silence the monkey, Kakati, because Lalita is frowning and Ananga Manjari will become upset. So he's showing his line right from the very beginning. And now again, he's emphasizing this line of being in the ute of Lalita Saki. This is good for us to actually hear. So now there's a section about Chandravali, which is very interesting. I'll read it anyway. Prabhu, Vijay, Prabhu, what sort of sadhaks become followers in the groups of Uteshwaris such as Sri Chandravali? So this is on page 804, and we should remember where this quotation is because sometimes people ask these questions. So Goswami, the intense desire to be the attendant of a Uteshwari awakens in one's heart only after accumulating fortune, sukriti, for many, many births. So only the most fortunate sadhaks have access to Srimati Radhika's ute. The efforts of Sri Chandravali and other Uteshwaris are simply to enhance the Leela, and it is only to nourish Sri Sri Radha Madhava's transcendental ras that other Uteshwaris have accepted the mood of an opponent. In fact, Srimati Radhika alone is Uteshwari. So he's explaining very clearly Chandravali, etc., and those Vipaksh group, they are all there to enhance the Swapaksh, to enhance Sri Radhika's, to nourish their mood in their rasa with Krishna. You understand? We don't understand, but we're hearing. And slowly, slowly, something will But if we don't ever hear this, how will we ever begin to absorb these types of truths unless we're open to actually hearing these things? If we say, no, 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 this is too high for me, how can I do that? Then go. Then it means your adhikar is very much less and not sufficiently qualified to actually hear this. And that's not to be condemned. That's just the way the situation is, that the adhikar isn't developed sufficiently. But if we do have the hunger or the desire to hear about these topics, that indicates, yes, then I have the beginnings of my adhikar in this direction. Then I must go in that direction and absorb my consciousness in these topics. Otherwise, these topics will never, in billions of lifetimes, manifest for us, ever. But at this particular time, of course, we have Mahaprabhu's mercy, which makes all the difference in the world. Shri Krishna's variegated pastimes are full of abhiman, spiritual self-conception. Those who have a particular service to Shri Krishna in his pastimes identify themselves as being perfectly fitted for just that service. So whatever our Swarup is absolutely, it's not like Mother Yashoda. She might hear something of the gopi's relationship with her darling son. Not for a single fraction of a second does she want to have that same relationship. She is fully immersed in her Vatsalya Bhav, up fully up to the, and the Sakas, they're fully immersed in their relationship with Krishna. The Swarup never wants to, it's not like an upward mobility. Oh, I've suddenly found out that I'm a Saka, but I wish I was something else. It's not anything, this is a material thought. It's not on that platform whatsoever.
Was when you were just saying about Chandravali, etc., was this indicating that one wouldn't enter any of those groups?
No. Yes. Correct.
Only Rajas.
Yes. Yes.
They're all
Because
just
that
fixed.
group is selected to be the opposition party. So there would be no aspiration to join the opposition party. Those are already manifested. Radha's Kaya Vyuha. Vijay, now I wish to become resolute with regard to guna, qualities. Goswami, you are expert in the various types of fine skills required for your assigned service. You need suitable qualities and dress in order to render your service perfectly, and your Gurudev has already ascertained these for you. So everything is depending on Gurudev. Depending on Gurudev, inspiring in the heart of a sadhak these principal qualities, these Ekadash Bhavs. It can only come from your relationship with your Gurudev. That's why it's so essential to develop our relationship with Gurudev while Gurudev is here amongst us. When he leaves this world, we can feel separation, etc. But the main principle was our connection while he was present. If we didn't really make a connection while he is present, then it's not going to be so simple to make, because much imagination will perhaps come in the mind, this kalpana. So if we have Guru, then we must be very much trying to develop this relationship while Guru is present on the planet with us. He says, now please tell me about Agyan, specific orders. Goswami, there are two types of Agyan, Nitya and Naimitic. Your Nitya Agyan is whatever Agyan, instructions, your compassionate Saki has bestowed upon you regarding your seva during the Astakalya Lila, and you must continue to render it regularly in that particular time without any negligence. So this is the nature of our eternal service, that we're doing it without any negligence or spacing out at all in any way. Apart from that, from time to time, she may give you a gyan about other services when the necessity arises, and this is called naimitic agyan, occasional orders. You should also attend to these services with the utmost diligence. We were just hearing yesterday the beautiful description of Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj, and Prabhu was commenting that his greatest desire was when he had a service already and was given even another service to focus on. And he would become so ecstatic going from one service to the next service. So the seva is the connecting point of the heart. Seva is the symptom of love. Understand, Radhika's seva is to go into man. Krishna's seva is to break that man. The point of seva is always there amongst all the Sakis and Krishna even. Vijay, what is Vas, residence? Vasa. Goswami, to reside in Braj eternally. This is Vas. You should realize your identity as a gopi who is born in the house of some gopa in one of the villages of Braja, and you have been married to a gopa of some other village of Braj. However, the sweet sound of Krishna's Murli has captivated you. Sri Radhika's confidential Saki has taken you under her guidance and has appointed a place of residence for you in a beautiful kutia, in a grove on the bank of Ratna-kunda. The residence that you have realized internally by your intrinsic spiritual identity is your true vasa. The Parakya Bhav is actually your Nitya Siddha Bhav. So without this Parakya Bhav, nothing of the rasa will manifest. The Parakya Bhav, the confidential, secretive, um, contriving all the different arrangements that have to be made for Radha and Krishna to meet, because it's Parakya, because it's secret, just enhance the entirety of the rasa within Braj. This is the backdrop. This is the gift that Mahaprabhu specifically has come to give. Previous to Mahaprabhu, this Parakya Bhav, it appeared that it was mentioned just on the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadev Goswami is describing the Rasalila, etc., with married women. Why is Krishna dancing with married women? But the point is, who could actually understand that at the time? Even though it's there in the Bhagavatam, who had the adhikar to understand it before Mahaprabhu advented? Jayadev Goswami understood something, but even his hand was trembling and couldn't write Smaragarala Kandanam Mama Sirasi Mandana. He couldn't write that verse. So it was there, but the point is, who could actually access it and understand it? It was just bewildering for the regular sadhak who was perhaps coming from lifetimes of worshipping Krishna in Aishwarya Bhav. How is he suddenly going to make that transition to, well, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is completely transgressing Dharma? How can I accommodate that in my heart? I can't. Therefore, Mahaprabhu has to come. This is why it's given that Mahaprabhu, he gives this rag, he gives the adhikar to come into this rag conception. Because without that understanding or acceptance, basically, of parakya in the spiritual realm, this is the point. We get confused with the material. When our minds are conditioned, we're only thinking about the conditioned parallels with the spiritual world and the material world. But we have to understand that the transcendental world, we're walking completely out of the material. This is our sadhana. We call it vairagya or renunciation, etc. It's not actually, it's just simply changing mentalities to accommodate the transcendence. The transcendental reality has nothing to do with our material buildup of reputation, dharma, artha, karma, moksha, etc. This is to be rejected completely. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing about in his Falshruti at every single verse. I reject dharma, artha, karma, moksha. I reject it, because it's all about the material conception. So we can't come to these places of transcendental consciousness without fully knowing that this nimitic consideration is completely useless to our spiritual journey. It has nothing except weight and baggage pulling us back into this nightmarish material situation. But we don't believe it. Even we hear it and we hear it and we hear it, but still it's like that 10th offense to the holy name, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. But still, I'm not accepting it as a reality. Even I'm saying it, I'm not accepting it.
So even Nanda Maharaj, whose worshipful deity is Narayan, is laughing. How can Krishna be God? Don't be silly.
Yes.
Look at how he's breaking all the rules.
Yes.
He's not dharmic. He
Yes.
can't be God.
Because Nanda's Madhurya, which is grounded in rag, and understanding Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The gopis don't believe for a moment. They sometimes believe for a fraction of a moment in their deepest separation that Krishna is the supersoul or the witness. Nakala Gopiga, Nandana Bhava is saying in the Gopi Gita, in that 4th verse. But in their deepest separation, they're perhaps that idea is coming up only because Purnamasi told them that, but they don't actually believe that, not conclusively, really, for a moment. Otherwise, how could they behave with him? Like, how could Mother Yashoda behave with Krishna and bind him up? Unless that conception of Godhead is just vacant, it's not there. So to come to this point of, it's not like rejection, it's like putting something more substantial in place. Krishna is always the supreme. He's Mugdata and he's Sarvagyan. He's all-knowing, Sarvagyan, and he doesn't know at the same time. So we can't really understand these. If we follow, like yesterday, very strict Ekadashis, and if we chant, as many rounds as we're able to in the day, and meditate regularly, it's not really any good just doing it once or twice or thrice like that at a time. It's just like you get these momentary flashes perhaps, but the sadhak wants to have this continual, gradual rise of consciousness unfolding daily, regularly, actually not even daily, moment by moment by moment. We want to be on that level. And the mature devotees can reach that level by the mercy of their Gurudev. We can reach that steady level. Not that I'm performing austerity now, it's Kartik month, in a few days we'll be off with Kartik. I saw this actually happen on the Parikrama many times. It was shocking to me. There would be so many in our party. Of course, there were many, many new people. But I can remember after the Parikrama had closed, then I'd be walking through the town a few days later. I'd see the same devotees all sitting in a tea shop, drinking tea, even smoking a cigarette or something, completely, back into the same. They just dropped away from that energy, So we want to pray to, all of our Ishtadevs, especially Sri Radhika, to maintain this higher level of consciousness, because this is the transcendental level of consciousness. Yet we're so familiar with the material one, we keep dropping back into it. We think that's the reality, and I'm just doing this for a while, and then I'll go back to where I was before. It's the other way around. How to do that? Only we can't do that ourselves. It's such an incredible journey because we can't directly do it. We need the Kripa. We can make the endeavor, but without the Kripa, then nothing will transpire. So now we're praying for the Kripa of Brajadam. And today we're sitting in Narada-kunda and we're hearing about these Ekadash Bhavs. And I hope you're appreciating the speciality of hearing these. I know for myself personally, I haven't had an opportunity practically to ever speak this part about the Ekadash Bhavs to anybody. But I'm taking advantage of you all because you've all been very submissive and coming every day and listening to our Vraja-mandala Parikrama program, just to drop this onto your head at this point and see whatever you make of it. But I'm throwing it out to you anyway.
Does each ras have Ekadash Bhavs, 11 Bhavs?
Yes.
So
this is about your Swarup.
Yes.
It's not about the separate rasa. It's whatever the rasa of your Swarup is.
You'll have the same 11 details.
Yes, of course, because it's the nature of your Swarup. Yes. Where are we? Oh, so residence in Braj. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. The residence that you have realized internally by your intrinsic spiritual identity is your true vas. Your parakya bhav is actually your nitya siddha bhav. So this parakya bhav is essential because you will have a husband, but then you have to learn how to cheat on your husband. You see, this is not like material dharma, is it? Material dharma is the opposite. I'll be very loyal and faithful, etc. So we're getting cemented in by these material conditionings. How to break them? How to break out of this material dharma, artha, karma, moksha? This is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it so strongly in his Falshruti again and again and again and again. If you're religiously, spiritually inclined, it probably means you have the adhikar for understanding this, but you still have to break all of those. What's that? Sarva dharmam parityajya, mamekam saranam, aham tam sam. Like abandon all varieties of dharma. Even in Bhagavad Gita, it's saying there's something more than this. And we can only actually really appreciate that most when we're hearing so many different pastimes and leelas about the sweetness and speciality of Radha and Krishna's activity, their conjugal pastimes together. That's when the heart begins really to turn. Listening to those different, I'm just digressing into some tattva at this point because I think it's very helpful for this platform to get firm.
Well, you mentioned Kubja, and of course, Kubja is not Swakiya. She wants to enjoy with Krishna.
Yeah, but she doesn't really
outside.
want to get married to him either.
No, she
But
doesn't want
it's
to get
Sadarani. But her defect is that she wants to enjoy Krishna.
Yes.
That's her defect, rather than serve Krishna.
Is she a particular Shakti? Does she represent it, or is she just a jiva with this unusual?
Actually, it's described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that she's Bur Shakti. She's actually the same as Mother Earth. Yeah, no, the same as Vishnu Priya is in a different category of Bur Shakti. But Mother Earth, that is oppressed by the warring armies at the time of Krishna's appearance. So Kupja's body is oppressed in 7 places. It's bent out of shape. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes that comparison. And carrying the fragrances and so on is like the fragrances of Mother Earth. Mother Earth produces these fragrances. So Kupja's like a representative of that. Understand? We can talk about that. Otherwise, it gets digressed. But that's called Sadarani Rati. So now Vijay is saying, kindly give more specific details about my seva, service. Goswami, you are a maidservant of Srimati Radhika, and your eternal service is to render loving service unto her. Sometimes, out of necessity, she may send you to be alone with Sri Krishna in a solitary place, and at that time Krishna may express his desire to enjoy with you. However, you should never agree to his proposals. You are a dasi of Srimati Radhika, and you never independently serve Krishna for his pleasure without her permission. You have equal loving attachment for Radha and Krishna, but still you should maintain your greater earnestness for her loving service, dasya prem, than for Krishna's. This is the meaning of seva. Your seva is to care for Sri Radhika's comfort and pleasure in all the eightfold pastimes of the Astakalya Lila. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami has presented the outline of your service in Sri Vilap Kusumanjali, based on Sri Swarup Damodar's treatise. We are very, very fortunate that we have the commentary by my Gurudev on Vilap Kusumanjali. Most of the verses, not all of the verses, but most of the verses, he's given a very in-depth commentary on. And we are so blessed because they are not coming from an interpolated place by editors. They can't be changed because we have the actual sound recording, and it's very, very clear. And anyone can listen to these recordings to hear clearly these descriptions in Vilap Kusuma. If we have an interest in this, if we know that this is in my highest interest of my soul to actually become familiar with these topics, this is the purpose. So Vijay, he asks, how can the Parakashta Swasa, the utmost summit of sentiments and the very breath of the aspirant, be ascertained? Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, has explained Parakasa in the following 2 shlokas. Then he gives the shlokas. I'll just read the translation here. Ha, Varoha Radha, I am spending my days in great distress, maintaining the highest expectation of attaining the ocean of nectar. Now please bestow your kindness upon me, for if you do not do so, what is the use of my life, my residence in Braj, or even my servitude to Krishna? All will be completely in vain. So I think I'm going to stop shortly. I'll just read one more part, one more section. I'm jumping a couple of sections here. I hope that by reading this with you today, that some of you will be inspired to pick up your Jaiva Dharmas and look at this section in the 39th chapter towards the end about these Ekadash Bhavs. I think perhaps when you read it personally for yourself, then you will get a very deep impression, a deeper impression. I'm reading it publicly to try and inspire you to read it yourself and go more deeply into this understanding of what is my goal of this parikrama. We said right at the very beginning, my Gurudev is saying regularly, every single time, now say after me, I want to be a Palyadasi of Srimati Radhika. Every single year, for 20 years, he was telling us that, telling us that, telling us that. What does it mean? We just sing these bhajans like Radha Kripa Kataksha, Namami Nandanandanam, just almost by rote, and we're not really understanding what it's actually saying. If we have a desire to understand what these topics are about, it's all here in Jivadharma, especially in the last 14 chapters. But it takes dedication, more dedication to the spiritual path than the dedication we have already to the material path. All of us are so dedicated to our material welfare, our material well-being, our material situation. This is generally the priority of all of us. How am I going to eat, sleep, mate, and defend? These are all the propensities of the animals. But by this Vraja-mandala Parikrama, we should be raising our horizons, so to speak, and coming more resolutely towards understanding what is my true spiritual identity and trying to connect with that. The world, we know, externally is going through, all kinds of transitions, but all this extra suffering that's being poured on us should make us take shelter of the real focus and purpose of our existence. Our focus and purpose is not to have a comfortable spot in case the bombs start dropping or something of that nature. That's not our, goal and purpose. Our purpose is to actually connect with these type. Um, Vijay, what sort of attitude should a Palyadasi have towards Sri Lalita Devi's other attendant maids, and how should she deal with them? So I'll leave it there. I won't go into further about that, but this is a very interesting description. But so Narad, he's receiving these Ekadash barbs, and I've only sprinkled it very, very lightly, mentioned it, just pressed some buttons about the terminologies, etc. It's for us to, because as we said, like going through the gorge at Sankarikor, it's a singular journey. It's not a group journey. So if singularly you're inspired to read more about these significant subject matters, then you should read for yourself in Jaiva Dharma in particular, in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Raghavatman Chandrika, also so many different Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. All of these books are there for, they're just available. How much are we finding the time separate from our material um, endeavors to actually focus on this endeavor? So Narada, he's getting these Ekadash barbs. This is qualifying him for the identity of a gopi, Naradiya gopi, because he has these barbs given by Punamasi. Whereas we said with Shivji, he wasn't given those Ekadash barbs. So he was a Ketrapal, he was a gatekeeper in Braj. He didn't get the same position as Narad did. Narad actually got his goal fulfilled to become a gopi. But the principle is this service to Sri Radhika. This is my principal seva as a maidservant of Sri Radhika. So it's a journey. It might be, my Gurudev always said, a number of lifetimes. It's not that like, instant food, instant this. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gave us the impression that the next page I turn over on Bhagavatam, I'll be realized. I always had that impression when I was previously in that society with the mood of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He was bringing us to Krishna. And yes, that can be achieved in a moment, just that rock solid faith, that nishta, because basically that's where it will bring us to nishta. Nishta means that I have no other focus other, I cannot think back into material indulgence. It's already gone. It's disappeared altogether. There's no more desire left in that realm. So this is nishta. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar says like that. When I no longer have the slightest inclination, not even in dreams, to go back into that material involved consciousness, and then ruchi, and then asakti, and then bhav, and then coming to that place of bhav, then that's the highest stage we can reach in this body. And then prem will be in a future birth. But just to have the sweetness and be wrapped up in the moods of Radha and Krishna, particularly in Vrindavan, particularly with their beautiful sportive leelas that we've heard something of today, just a little bit. I described that Sankachuta demon a little bit, because when Sankachuta was killed, of course, the gopis, their adoration towards the hero Krishna was so much more intense than it had been previously. This big demon had just been killed effortlessly by Krishna. So these moods we want to aspire for. So I think I'll stop today, and we'll have our glorification of Damodar being bound by Mother Yashoda. I was going to see if we had time to read our Damodar Astakam, but I thought this point of taking your time to explain about these Ekadash Bhavs was going to be more valuable at this point. Just to know that they exist, to know they're there, and know where you can access them. If you study that, if you chant significantly enough and realize this is the nature of my spiritual identity. So Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vraja-mandala ki jai, Naradiya Gopi ki jai, Ekadas Bhavs ki jai, Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om.
Namam Vishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Vraja-mandala Yashodaviolukalatavamanam Param Vishtam Atyanta Todrutyagopya Mudam Tamo Horneta Dukam Vidantam Param Bhoja Yugmena Shatankanetam Moshvasakam Patirakam Kakanta Sita Kara-damodaranantivatam Iti Krishna-lila-bhi Ananda-kunde Svagoshani-marjantam-adyapayantam Pati-ashitadeshu bhakta-chidatam Una prema sastam satariti-bande Varangila mokshana oshapatindra Natanyamide alvarishadapiya Idam seva purnata gopala-balam Sagadrimanasya viratam simante Idam Amboja Avyaktanilay Idam Kunalesnita Rakshasya Ruhosamitam Bimba Rakhagarame Manasya Virashtam Namo Deva Namo Ananta Vishnu Rasida Prabhu Rupa Jala-Vimatam Vipadrishti Vrisyati Dinam Vatanu Vihadishva Mamaya Vidyakshutrishya Uvera Majomaya Mutyaiva Yadva Ayam
Shito Bhakti Bhajo Pritapra Tata Prema Bhaktin Swakam Prayacha Namo Shigra Hore Sri Namo Daveta Namaste Sudame Soradipti Jame Adi Odaraya Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Namsa-lilaya Devaya Tobhyam Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Namsa-lilaya Devaya Tobhyam Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara. Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Radha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya 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 Guru Deva. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya
Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Shri Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai. Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Gopinath Ju Ki Jai. Vraja-mandala Parikrama Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Killola-kunda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevascha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah.